Chair. I think we are good to go.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And can I welcome everyone to this meeting of the One Corby Policy Committee. Welcome to councillors, members of staff, any members of the public or the press who may be watching. Before we begin the formal business this evening, I would like for the committee to observe a minute's silence for the passing recently of Bernard Hales. Bernard, I'm sure all of you will know, has been a fixture or was a fixture at Corby Borough Council over many years as a photographer. Many of the mayor making ceremonies, all sorts of public events in the council chamber. Bernard Hales has been there with his trusty camera, and it's very sad news to learn of Bernard's passing recently. He was a very good friend of Corby Borough Council and a very valued colleague. So if you would please observe a minute's silence in memory of Bernard. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We'll then commence the formal business of this evening. Can I ask, are there any apologies for absence, please?
Chair, I have apologies from Councillor Latter, Councillor Elliston and Councillor Pengelly, and we have Councillor Colquhoun and Councillor DL substituting.
Thank you. Do we have any further apologies? No. Okay. Can I therefore move to declarations of interest? Do any members have any declarations of interest that they want to make in respect of any of the business discussed this evening? Okay. In that case, the minutes of the previous meeting, the committee has requested to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of December 2021. Can I see someone please to move the minutes? Yeah, Councillor Addison. And seconded by Councillor Sims. Yeah.
Yep.
All those in favour of receiving the minutes, please accept, please show. Okay, that's carried. I can't see all the screen, Paul, so can you?
Yes, I'll shout out, Chair. Yeah.
Thank you. I can only see half a dozen.
All right. There are many more, I can assure you.
Okay. Right. That brings us on to the first item of business, the report on the additional capital bid for CCTV. Is Tony Malpass going to present this report?
I believe so.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This report is to advise how additional one-off capital investment would be spent in relation to the CCTV system. So the borough CCTV system has had ongoing investment for a number of years, In 2019, capital funds were made available, and to ensure value for money, an appraisal was undertaken. And with that, we identified faults, made recommendations, and received guidance in relation to infrastructure to support our future growth. We have now procured a maintenance contractor, and works are underway in relation to rectifying some of those issues. Point 2 in the report talks about the ongoing investment into the system, so that we now do have an enviable system that mainly utilises wireless technology. We have a number of radios, links on the building of the control room, and we need to rectify some issues in relation to making better use of that system. Over onto page 2 of the report, details that we do have a number of analogue cameras. Now, these analogue cameras require additional parts for the conversion of the signal and the image, which then creates potential points of failure in the system. We do have a number of digital cameras which provide a clearer image. They have greater capacity and better zoom functions. There's just a note there in relation to our transmission to the police headquarters in Northampton. There is a live stream view, so they can see what is going on as we do in the control room. So a number of the faults that we have, the maintenance company have identified that it's mainly in relation to the cameras due to them being analogue. We do have 56 analogue cameras on the system. And as set out further in the report, there is funding to replace 15 of these with the wireless cameras. Additional funding of £70,000 would enable us to replace 35 additional cameras. This would then leave 6 the old analogue cameras, which are on a fibre link to Danesholme and Oakley Hay. This would then be reviewed in further financial years, because there is a lot more work involved due to looking at lines of sight and looking at options to get the signal back. Part 3 of the report sets out budget and finance. And I've set out the annual maintenance budget that I have. I had an underspend from the previous year, which I was very kindly allowed to carry forward. And this was due to the delays with the procurement. And then the capital works money that is left that I was awarded, which brings the total of 103,371. Over onto page 3, you can see that I've set out the spend against the budget. We've got the ongoing maintenance costs. We've got a commitment there to remedy some of the faults. And we've also had quotes in relation to improvement works. This all adds up to £73,497. Taking that away from the budget, it leaves me just under £30,000, which I could then use to replace 15 of those cameras. So additional investment of £70,000 would enable me to replace 35 of those old analogue cameras. To do this, it would reduce costs for ongoing maintenance, as older cameras and equipment are more likely to fail. And the proposal is to draw on the council's reserves to fund the works. Going on to the last page. The proposed upgrade works could be completed this financial year. The maintenance contractors have advised they have capacity to do that. And then that would mean that going into unitary, the majority of our cameras would be of a similar type and quality. So asking for additional investment. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, I'll open it up to questions or comments from councillors.
Chair, Councillor Addison wishes to come in.
Yeah, okay, Jean, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Tony, what would be the extra cost for the 6 cameras at Danesholme and Oakley Hay if we were to do them this year, so that we've got it all done as one package?
I don't know costs of that. It is likely to be more pro rata than it would be per camera due to looking at that transmissions costs. We need to assess our options for transmission and then in relation to the most suitable cameras for that. So it is kind of a piece of work on its own. We can look at trying to progress it, but unfortunately at present I have no idea of the costs involved.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Any other questions? Paul, can you see anyone with a hand up?
Councillor DL wishes to come in.
Okay, Alison, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Tony, the cost of £41,000 for the quotes for improvements, which is detailed in the budget, does that include any new cameras that you're having installed? And the report doesn't really go into the details of any new cameras. I'm not sure if that was comes out of the Section 106 money, but is there any plans to put any new cameras in, perhaps in Priors Hall or Little Stannion or anywhere else across the town?
Yes, the Section 106 works are completely separate to this. The funding is of a different stream. Works are underway in relation to those plans. I'm waiting the outcome of a planning application in relation to Priors Hall. Once, if that's authorised, then we'll be looking at progressing that. I think we've got 3 cameras on the retail area and 1 by the open air auditorium to go in at Priors Hall. We're also looking at works at Little Stannion and Weldon as part of the 106.
Thank you, Tony. Any further questions? You see anyone, Paul? No hands raised.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, Councillor Sims has just put his hand up.
David?
Thank you, Chair. I think it's a good idea to have the cameras up to a good standard, because it gives the community, people in the community and businesses, of course, and a bit of confidence. It's unfortunate we live in an age where we do need that sort of security. So I would be happy to have this go forward as long as the council can afford it, and I assume, of course, we can. And that it's something I would support, and it would be useful to know a bit more about the other cameras that are still on the analogue system, about the costs of getting them upgraded. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor McEwen wishes to come in.
It's just a curiosity question. Do we know how much 106 money we have left to spend?
It varies. There's different amounts for different areas in relation to what was caught into the agreement. I can provide that separately to you if you would like.
Sorry, Tony, I meant the overall amount of 106 money we've got left in the borough to spend.
I'm not sure that's a question Tony's qualified.
No, it's not.
To be honest,
it's put to Adrian knows, or whoever deals with the 106 money.
Chair, Adrian's online, so
yeah, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, Chair, but it's in the millions. What I can do is forward you a spreadsheet tomorrow listing what the Section 106 agreements we've got and how much of it is still left to be spent. So you can, but it's in the millions.
Okay. Thank you. That'd be helpful, Adrian. Okay. Are there any further questions on this particular report? Then, if not, could I see someone to move the recommendation then, please?
Move, Chair. Paul.
Moved by Councillor Isles. Seconder?
Councillor Addison, Chair.
Seconded by Councillor Addison. So, okay, all those in favour of approving the recommendation? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Can you confirm that
That
was carried,
was
Paul?
passed. That was carried. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Tony, for that. And we move on to the second open item on tonight's agenda, which is the staffing for the Woodland and Parks. And Chris Stevenson is going to present this report. Are you there, Chris? Yeah.
I am, but I'm very pleased to say that Julie, I think, is going to present this to you, Chair, and I'll come in with if there's any questions to help Julie.
Okay, fine. Julie, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. The Corby Woodland project is externally funded through Homes England. This funding has covered 2 salaries, which is the Woodland Manager and the Parks and Woodland Ranger. So there's £24,000 remaining in this budget, which is not enough to cover for a full year's project costs. So to continue the Woodland project, it's requested we move the 2 salaries from the Home England funding to the 923,000 Geddington Road Section 106 funding that was received for enhancing and managing the woodlands and the open spaces within the Corby Borough. If the council do not invest in both posts, the Woodland project will be supported by 1 Parks and Woodland Ranger, and that's not sufficient to maintain the high quality green provision being offered to the residents of Corby and its visitors. So there's 3 options for members to consider. The option 1 is to approve the use of the Geddington Road 106 funding to cover the existing salary costs. Option 2 is the existing posts are funded or part funded through the local authority, but this option is not ideal with being so close to going into the unitary. And option 3 is to make the 2 staff members redundant. And the recommendation from officers is to approve option 1.
Thank you, Julie. Questions, please. Don't see any. I don't see any hands up.
Councillor Watt wishes to come in, Chair.
Kevin, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. It was just on point 1 of the report there. I assume that there's an estimated cost for £100,000 for the management plans. Was this put out to competitive tender?
Julie?
Let me say that, Julie.
Chris.
You can do.
That is still to happen. I mean, when we took this in 2019, this was a plan for over the next 5 years plus. We're in the process now of beginning to obviously implement these things. So the next stage is obviously to go forward with this. And I believe we're in the process of tendering some of the work. So the answer is, they are being procured in the right way.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, any other questions? Paul, do you see any hands?
I can't see anything, Chair. Anybody, Chair?
Okay, thank you. In that case, the recommendation is to approve option 1. So can I see someone, please, to move that recommendation? That's
I think Councillor McGee and Councillor Addison, I think, as seconder, Chair.
Okay. I saw John first, and as I'm the chair, I'm going to call it for John. He just beat you to it, Gene. So, anyway, proposed by Councillor McGee, seconded by Councillor Addison. Can I see all those in favour then, please?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie, and thank you, Chris. Okay, we now move into the exempt session, where we have 4 reports to consider. I'll just read the recommendation. The committee has recommended to consider the following reports in private on the grounds that they contain exempt information as defined in the Local Government Act 1972, and consequently that it makes the following resolution: that the press and public be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following reports on the grounds that they contain exempt information as